There are realistic sports anime and then there is 100 meters. This shit needed to be studied cause I kid you not. Even when this anime is unrealistic, it's still realistic. And it kept betraying my expectations in the best way possible. 100 meters is glazed a lot, not because it does something entirely new, but because it does the familiar thing in a new way. Folks in 100 meters run cause they love running. They don't run to find happiness. They find happiness in running. Even the dumbest bitch can get that much from all this. It's the love of the game idea being explored through unorthodox writing for the genre, which made this a gem among gold. Let's start from the beginning. Togashi's future is bright. He is a naturally fast runner and outgoing, the kind of kid your parents might want you to be. Komiya is like that quiet kid in your class who gets called a weirdo cause he won't yap like a retard. Komiya tries to keep himself distracted from the world by running real fast. He's the underdog of this story. Remember this. It's gonna be important later on. Some stuff happens and Togashi starts training Komiya to run better. This is where my over 9000 IQ brain figured out the plot. This shit is gonna be a hard work versus talent story where these two have a rivalry.
Not even close. Bye.
Say goodbye to all that cause Komiya is kicked out of the story and there's a time skip. Now this is where we get into the real shit. After the time skip, we see Togashi is winning races like usual. Then we are introduced to Nigami for the second time actually. They participate in some races, do some in the club activities, but this is kinda thrown out the window and the movie cuts to Komiya. He's faster than before but has his own problems. We see Komiya doing a practice run. He comes second place cause of psychological reasons. Back in the day, he suffered a free injury alongside his free lessons. It has healed from his body but not from his mind. A dude can't tap into his domain, but he gets another free lesson from this dude, which helps in breaking the limiter he set on himself. At this point, you know Komiya will re-race the first place dude. But before he can do that, the fraud bitches out something like, your body will be destroyed if you keep this up. Please stop and let me keep winning. But Komiya is reborn as an alpha male after being red-pilled by podcast bro Zaitsu, and he mocks the beardless sub-5 in front of him. At this point, you also know this guy's cook, and you are proven right cause Komiya asserts his dominance by beating the fraud. The interesting thing being we don't see this rematch in autistic detail cause we don't need to. This anime won't insult your intelligence by hosting runtime over bullshit. We knew what would happen so the movie gives us the start of the rematch and the result. This also lends to the idea of things happening behind your back in real life. Having watched all this play out, I thought the movie will cut between Komiya and Togashi and their stories will run in parallel. We get another time skip. Togashi and Komiya meet for the first time in many years as real opponents. Remember the hard work versus raw talent setup. This is where 100 meters turns that on its head. For a while, Togashi and Komiya are side by side until Togashi is overtaken. Everything loses color and before you know it, the race is over. Our boy's natural talent was snuffed out by Komiya's hard work. Maybe Komiya was the talented one all along. But now, none of that matters. By each passing second, Togashi is drowned out behind the rain, visualizing him being left behind, both in the race and in his life. It's an extreme way of doing show don't tell. The animation really hits that feeling of utter defeat and being surpassed by certain people. This scene is also where I accepted that I cannot tell where the fuck this story is going. Nigami is unrecognizable during the high school era. He quit cause of a back injury and he didn't care if he had healed. He wasn't even willing to try. This is the same guy that talked about absolute devotion and commitment. But that's how life is. Half the time you don't know what will happen to you. People come in and go out of your life. They change behind your back. Sometimes they watch your videos without giving a like and subscribe. This plot progression mirrors real life. But enough about that. Let's talk about the animation. After the childhood story is done, you are jump scared with rotoscoped visuals throughout the movie. Now bad rotoscoping can make your anime look extremely retarded, so they did not mess it up. The movement feels very real and cinematic. Sometimes the background moved a bit choppy compared to people on the foreground. If you look really hard, but I'm just nitpicking. Watching 100 meters feels like watching real people who happen to look like cartoons. The camera work made it feel like a documentary at certain times. Take this long one-take shot for example. If the characters weren't 2D and the background wasn't stylized, this scene would feel right at home in a real movie. The characters and the movie are focusing on the track and what will happen there, so everything else looks murky. Visuals are sometimes exaggerated, but it ends up lending to the realism, which I will get to. Sometimes the animation style slightly changes to visualize how the characters are really feeling. This anime is many things. Generic is not one of them. Life-changing story beats or scenes are presented in an offbeat manner. You get good character acting, but a lot of the time, nothing is sugar-coated. Nigami is thinking about quitting the pursuit. Our boy changes his mind. We see him years later competing with the best. You see this happen as normal. Some Something about real life is that even the most insane shit is actually mundane. The same is done in 100 meters. The pacing is also airtight. It kinda slows down if the story demands it, but it always keeps you on the run. This approach doesn't take away from the story beats. The scenes just speak for themselves because of the dialogue. 100 meters is filled with memorable dialogue and conversations that hold your attention. You get to learn a whole lot about side characters. No detailed backstory is needed whatsoever. I have been beating you on the head about how realistic this anime is, but now I wanna address the not so realistic parts that still make this great. First up are the running scenes. They get hammed up the most because running is important to the characters. It's where they feel truly alive. So that is where the Sakuga goes mad. Even when things are hammed up, it still retains a real edge. Let me give you an example. Togashi has a random encounter with two kids. They are talking about running and shit, like Togashi used to do with Komiya. Togashi's boomer genes kick in and he starts giving them some elderly advice. But it gets to a point where you know he's just talking to himself, and soon enough he starts crying. Komiya surpassing Togashi can be partially blamed on him. Maybe he regrets what he did, maybe not. What's clear is that things aren't going good for him, and this is obviously an emotional moment. Even a retard can tell it's important, but unfortunately, I am worse than a retard. The movement is great, but the art gets exaggerated to the point where Togashi looks like a meme. But they did it for a reason. People are supposed to look pathetic, ugly and laughable when they are crying IRL. I have rarely come across someone who could cry like anime girls and give me a boner. The animators brought a realistic quality to this scene by making it look unrealistic. All of it sounds very simple on paper, but it's genius. This scene also sets up the final act. There's a lot at stake for Togashi. If he runs, he might not be able to run again. It's ironic because Komiya didn't suffer for his injury, but Togashi does. If he doesn't run, he won't get another chance. Togashi was on the ground for a long time. We can't see his face when he gets up, but some car passes by him and the light hits his face. This dude is gonna run. They actually did the constipated determination face and put some actual effort into it. They also did it for a really crucial point, so it felt like it was worth a damn. This scene gave me goosebumps. The final race is incredible. Everything I glazed about this anime, like the unpredictability, realism through unrealism, over the top running, all of it comes together in the final race. Let's talk about the final moments. This ending comes out of nowhere in the best way possible. 100 meters ends abruptly before you have the chance to know what actually happened. The ending race between Togashi and Komiya is depicted in the opposite manner of the race between Komiya and Mr. Sub 5. It's fitting since Sub 5 tried to get Komiya to back down in order to save his ass, while Togashi helped Komiya and cooked his own ass in the process. That final shot has stayed with me long after this anime ended. I have already ruined too much of the unpredictability. I don't wanna spoil any more of the ending. This anime felt like a roller coaster ride where I stayed silent while feeling every bit of the fun the loud ones felt. I thought I would relate to Komiya cause he's the underdog and I am a loser, but these mofos turned the talented guy into a relatable underdog and made me root for him. I can't say for sure if this is the most realistic sports anime, but it certainly is the realest one I have watched so far. 9 out of 10.